Hey everyone, welcome to quick and easy tutorials here with 3D Max modeling basics. We're going to do a little bit of slightly more complicated rigging, skinning, and animating on something that's a little bit more organic than what you're used to. So the last tutorial we kind of just talked about setting up a hierarchy, doing some really simple kind of mechanical animation. Now we're going to take this thing here, this little like tentacle or whatever organic-y thing we want. Let's say we wanted this thing to bend and sway or bob or do whatever craziness we wanted to. So I modeled this guy, I zeroed him out, I reset his X form, he's ready to go. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create myself a little rig. So much like before, I'm going to go into geometry or the creation tool, go to helpers, create a dummy. All right, just zero that dummy out and call him B underscore root. You could do whatever naming convention you want. That's just kind of what I'm used to. So I'm going to go to my front viewport here, and we're going to create a bone setup for this guy. So I want you to go to the creation tool again, and at the very end, you're going to go to systems, these little gears, and there's some bones over here. So we're going to select this. Now, well, bones, when you start creating bones, you're going to click and you're going to start making a system of bones. Now, what bones do is they kind of create an auto hierarchy for you. So as I move this bone, it will move all the other ones. And as I move this one, it'll move those. It'll just move all of its children on its own. So it's just like a quick little hierarchy, kind of how we did the doors with the little circle thing, but this one is a little bit more complicated. So let's take some bones in the front viewport. We're going to start off with the bottom here. And I'm going to make as many bones as I feel I need for this thing to animate well. I'm going to position the ends of my bones where the edges are on this thing, so it bends nicely. So, you know, maybe I want something really complicated or simple. Right? Maybe we'll start off with a little simple and then get a little bit more finite as we get to the top. And then I can right-click to finish that bone chain. And now you'll see this bone chain's already set up in a hierarchy for me, except for this bottom bit. So this bottom one I'm going to zero out, make sure he's nicely in the center. And I'm going to use my select and link tool to link him to my root. So now when I move my root, I'll move all of that. All right, so now we're done. Our simple little setup here. If we hide this guy, you'll see we can do all the same stuff we were doing before. Right? I can even rotate a whole bunch of these at once, which is really nice about bones. So let's unhide that guy. So now what we're going to do, it's we can't just select and link this guy because we have one object and we want to have this object affected by many bones, not just one movement, rotation, whatever. It's a lot of different things. So we're going to have to do something a little different. We're going to have to apply a skin on this thing. So go to your modify panel. And from your list, or if you have it up on here already, select the skin modifier. Now in the skin modifier, the first thing you're going to have to do is go to the area here where under bones, there'll be a little button called add. And you can select all the bones you want to add for this. So I can expand all these guys, add all these bones myself, right? I don't add my root because I'm probably not going to need him. All depends if you want to rig stuff to your root. Let's do that. So I'm going to select that there. If you go to select and have select children on, if you just select the root, it'll select all of them. Now what this will do is once you add bones, it'll do an auto kind of skin for you. So if we select this bone here and we move, you'll see it'll start taking parts of our mesh. Right? And if I do that there, it'll start bending and warping our mesh together. So now your mesh is skinned to your bones. Now it's not skinned well because it looks like poop. So let's do something about that. So undo your bone changes here. So usually what we do before we start skinning our mesh is we do something called a range of motion animation. So all that means is I'm going to take all these bones here, I'm going to set up a key, and then wherever, it doesn't matter how long this one takes, I'm just going to do like a bend this way, and then maybe over here I'll do a bend that way. Maybe somewhere over here I'll just copy this over so it's straight, and I'll do like these bones bending over this way, maybe this one too, and then maybe these bones bending upwards. Kind of imagine the shapes that your object is going to want to take at some point, and just do like a quick animation of, hey, that actually turned out pretty cool. Wow. Sweet. Nice. Just kind of your range of motion. And then what we're going to use that for is we're going to see how it bends. So you see this top part here is actually not bending all that poorly. It's actually bending kind of nice because I added the as many bones as I had edges, but in these areas where I didn't do that, I had some in between areas. Well, we're going to have to fix that up. So with that selected, I can go to my skin modifier and click on the skin modifier, and this will kind of activate my my skin view here. And as I go through my bones here, you will see how they are kind of skinned to this mesh, or how this mesh is skinned to the bones. And these colors mean how much movement to take in from these bones. So red is 100%. So that means, when this bone 05 right here, moves, these verts along this edge will follow it 100%. And these orange ones will follow it, somewhere in the middle. And you'll see here, these two bones, these verts in the middle are both orange, which means they're probably about 50-50 from either one. All right, and you'll see this bone here, he's not taking any of these verts at all. So we can change that up, right? So we can see what's working and what's not. Obviously, these 50-50 ones seem to be working really well. So we can do select this bone here, and I can click on vertices. And now I'll be able to select the vertices of this mesh. Now if we scroll down here a little bit, there's a little, I don't know, gear, wrench, whatever this thing is. It's called bone tools. It's pretty sweet, or weight tools. Have that open, and then when you select verts, you'll see here, I have bone, you'll get to see whatever bone, like verts I've selected, you'll see what they're weighed to. So 100% to bone 2. But if I select all these verts here, you'll see that they're almost 50-50 between two different bones, which is sweet. So I can select all these verts here. I can go into wireframe mode, make sure that's on there. If I'm not confident in my selecting abilities, I can select two verts holding Control, and I can click this little tool up here called Loop, and it'll loop around it. So now what I can do is I can set this bone here. So I can go to Set Weight, and it'll set to whatever it is here, or these quick little buttons here. So if I go to 50%, you'll see now it's 50-50 between that one and that one. So it's starting to look a little bit similar to those guys over there. So I go through, and I'll see here that these verts here, so if I select these verts, see they're not really bending really nicely because right now they're 100% to this bone and 0% to that bone. You'll see they're completely white out here. So if I take this set weight tool and I go to 0.1, you'll see they're starting to get a little different color. 0.25, 0.5. Now they're kind of 50-50. It's starting to look a little nicer. I can set them 100% to that one, whatever I want. So with 50-50, I should start getting a little bit of a nicer animation between those two. So let's just go through and do that for all these guys. Let's just do a nice 50-50. This one can stay at 100% because he's right in the center. All right, and I can select these, loop, and then do like a 0.5 on that. And then I probably want to do a 1 or a 0.5 on that or something. We'll see. You start getting kind of weird bending with these guys here, so maybe maybe I want to do a 0.1, 0.25. Maybe same with this guy here. Maybe I'll loop him and do a 0.25 on there. Maybe not. Maybe he needs a little bit of a stronger one. Yeah, maybe a 0.75 for that guy. And now you'll see as we you get a nice smooth curve, none of those weird collapsing issues we were having before. And we have a much nicer rig for this guy. So now that we get out of skin, we can play our animation here. There we go. So now we have a nice smooth animation and our skin is done. Obviously doing a cone or a cylinder like this with some bones is probably the easiest thing you can skin ever. Pretty great for a tutorial because you get a nice result. With more complicated things, you're going to get much more complicated stuff. Um, but that's okay. I mean, it's just time. It's just weighing verts and trying to make sure that they look good in every instance that they possibly can. And remember, you can always build bones coming off of the side here if you wanted like a second tentacle, and then link them up to one of these specific bones. Excuse me, and you can get as complicated as you want. And then it's just a simple act of animating after. So one nice thing about animating, selecting these bones, obviously I'm selecting this outer mesh all the time, which is a pain in the butt. So I can right click on this guy and just go to freeze selection, and he will still animate even though he's frozen. I just can't click on him. So now I can go through and select these guys, right? So let's see, we had so this guy's all the way to the right, this guy's all the way to the left. So let's move these guys over here. All right, maybe do that. And we'll just do a nice little animation. There we go. And I could extend this longer if I wanted to. All right, and get them back up to here, which is probably not anything I'd ever actually wanted to do, because it'd probably look really silly. There we go. I got a really crappy looping animation, and we're done. So that's that, and you'd have all your different animations and do whatever. You could export them, which we'll go over into the Unity section. But that's kind of your quick and rough intro into skinning. Now, the one thing you don't want to do is you don't ever want to convert this guy to an editable poly with that skin on there, because it'll get rid of all of your actual skinning information. So don't do that. And basically, when you are ready to skin, make sure you are ready to skin. Don't assume you're going to edit your mesh after, because if I add verts to this thing, it'll mess up my skin, and I'll have to probably redo a whole bunch of work. So not too bad with this little guy, but with a complicated mesh, you don't want to be in that position. So be careful. Anyways, that's it for that. Thanks.